The Hollywood Actor Podcast with Lisa Lucas, Part 2.
So that was kind of the renaissance of you as an actor-performer, going through all these different other industries within the entertainment world and building your portfolio up as a producer slash writer on some of those shows, and then reality shows, coming back to New Mexico. And then it was this one happenstantial role that your editor slash writer of at Reels wrote for you that kind of brought you back into that whole mindset of what does it mean to me to be an actor? How passionate am I?
It was wild. And so then I, started signing up for stuff. I took all of these workshops with, like Laura Gardner would come out from LA, and I took Laura Cunningham's thing and, all the stuff you could possibly take in New Mexico, and it's starting to feel kind of good again. And I got some stuff. I started getting some things and doing short films, and then got into the O agency, and, Lynette started sending me out, and I, did some big TV series and other movies and things. And I was like, this is so great. And the best part about it has been the last 5 years is that, I'm just doing this for the pure joy of doing it. And I am a multifaceted person in the industry. My main work is producing and writing, but I feel like when I get to do the acting part, I feel like it's always such a blessing and such a joy. My life does not depend on it. So the way that I wanted it to, and the way it was when I was first starting out. And so I just let it go and let her rip, because it's just pure joy for me to do now. And also, here's the other thing. Back in the day, the pressure for young women, especially, to be the ingenue and to that young woman's pressure of what you look like and fitting into the box and all of that stuff is so insane, and it's awful. And I did feel like I was literally like, I am a piece of meat. And now I feel like I do character stuff. I get to play wacko things or whatever. I can play any role that's of any type of, personality, but it's more, there's a lot of character parts that those are the main things that come my way, more than like the, hardcore pressure leading things or whatever. And of course, I'd love to do anything like that, but it's just so freeing to not have it be based on mostly what you look like, because I went through that whole period of just, you go in, and I was trained at the time, and I had a finely tuned instrument. I'd go in and just kill it. And then they'd just be like, oh, well, the model would end up getting the part who had no training, or that had the body or whatever look they were looking for at the time. And that was just so disheartening. It was tough. Or, the cousin of the director's getting it, who's never done anything before, you know what I mean? And it's just that, time after time of it happening like 100 times in a row, you're just like, okay, I'm not built for this. It's just hard. And then the other side of it is I want to make my own stuff. And so that was the other thing in the last 5 years too, that has been really, really liberating, is just to, write and then write things for other people, write things for myself, have other people have written things for me or whatever, and collaborate with really talented people. And so you put that energy into knowing that, these things are really my babies, and these things are the ones I put the most energy and care into. And when I audition for other people and other stuff, it's like, then all the onus isn't on getting that. So then you don't feel terrible, and you're like, and you actually go into the auditions more free for like the TV series and stuff, because it's like, oh, well, I'm concentrating on my feature right now, and that's my big deal. You know what I mean? So then you're actually more likely to maybe even get the other things, because you're not killing yourself if you don't get it, So I don't know. It's also psychological, isn't it?
But you found all these ways to take the pressure off of yourself, to take that stress off yourself, because like you were saying earlier, you wanted to make it more of your present. It turned out to be more of your future in the end.
Right.
But so many people do try to pay the bills right off the bat by acting. They're like, oh, I'd just be happy and I'd be successful if I was earning all of my money through acting. And that's such a big ask. I don't think people realize how big of an ask that is increasingly, since commercials are paying less and less. More of them are non-union, these smaller buyouts, and a co-star is $900 or something. And
It's really,
you'll go out
really
for a couple of
tough.
those in a
It's
whole
really
year.
tough. I mean, back in the day, I will say, I paid off all my student loans and got my SAG card from an old El Paso salsa commercial.
Yeah.
But that stuff just isn't around.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And that's unfortunate. But, I think also, though, with the internet, the demand for projects is so great right now that, there are a lot of other things. And I know a lot of working actors who, make amazing living off of voiceover and doing, web series and stuff. But it's tough, it's
But it's
not
not just the
easy.
one thing that I think a lot of people go into drama school or think about acting is, I'm going to be that one thing. I'm going to be that tap dancer on Broadway, or I'm going to narrate those certain things, or I'm going to be in the pinnacle of Hollywood filmmaking. We're now being asked to be in so many different mediums increasingly, because there are so many more and so many more platforms, so much more content. So like you were coming into the industry and learning how to produce through these different types of platforms, how to collaborate with all of those different people from those different perspectives. I think that really lended you to be more successful than your average entertainment person.
I was just really open because I feel like I love all sides of it. Like right now, I'm working on this NBC series. I'm in the producing group. I'm the one segment producer, and I'm kind of crawling my way back to get back in a sense. But I'm so happy and joyful to be on the set every day, and I've been working on this thing for the last month. And it's humbling though, because I used to be the EP in these kind of scenarios, and my first day on this show, they had me like washing dishes, and then now I'm made it into the producer group, and they're asking me my opinion, and I'm getting to form things and make an impact on the story. But it's hard. I think we have to stay open, because if you just go in as a purist, and I'm not knocking that at all. If you want to be Quentin Tarantino and you're like, I'm doing it my way only, I'm only working with these people, I'm only working in film, I'm only doing this, good for you. You know what I mean? Like, my hat's off to anyone who wants to do any kind of art in this medium. But I also think that there is a beauty and a joy to be had in all of them, and if you're really into basically storytelling, because that's what we're doing, you can do it, and you can have a life, and you can make a living from it doing it. You might not be acting the whole time. I know a lot of actors that are in the union, in IATSE, and they work on sets, and they do some kind of craft, but they're also actors, or I know writers who work on all these docu-series and learn from like human experience, but then they go write their scripts and are trying to sell or get investors for their own projects, or it's really, there's a lot more crossover now than there ever has been, like you said, and I think that all of it is fascinating to me, and I'm just lucky that I get to play in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, especially everybody other than the actor. I always kind of think of the actor as being the odd one out. It's the person that people maybe don't have a way of communicating with, or an actor doesn't really necessarily know a lot about the filmmaking or the machine of it, especially when you're going from a university experience or even a conservatory experience, and boom, you're starting to try to plug into the New York film market, the Hollywood film market. And so that's why you increasingly do see like these multi-hyphenates, because there's so much content, and because actors are struggling to not just be that singular actor, like maybe a Quentin Tarantino, like you're saying, is a singular director from 25 years ago. Now it's so much more competitive, and there's so much more content, and actors are struggling to find more places to connect, that we are becoming those multi-hyphenates, I think.
Yeah. And I think you're actually more employable when you are too. It goes both ways. I mean, I have to admit, when I got back into acting about 6 years ago, it completely changed my writing. Like my writing got infinitely better. Just, you know, getting back in my body and thinking and using that side of my brain, the actor part of it, and being able to cross reference those kind of things. And then vice versa. I think if you're an actor and you get into what happens on a film set, you know, and you're in those scenarios and you're looking at the actors from the outside, you're like cheering for them, wanting them to succeed. You're seeing the whole picture of how a film or TV series is made, and you want to be a part of that family, that, you know, this village that comes together to make something super cool. And when you're with a good group, I mean, there's nothing like it. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm with a group right now where I'm just like, my God, I feel for the talent. I feel for the directors. I'm so into it. I'm working 14 to 16-hour days, and I don't care, because I'm so happy to be doing this with people who are professional and intense, and they work so hard, and they're making a really amazing product that I know people are going to be able to relate to, and they're going to feel, you know, and that's the whole reason why we do it, you know. And I think you can get that on both sides of the camera, you know.
Do you feel that camaraderie on most of the sets that you visit, or you help to manage?
You know, I don't. I have to say that sometimes, you know, every project is different. And the only thing you really get from experience is that, you know, you get hindsight, and you get wisdom on these things. And my advice is, and I used to tell the students that I had I used to teach at Santa Fe University of Design Film School for 5 years, and I taught advanced production, and I had a lot of directors and would-be producers and writers in my class. And I used to say to them, you know, you're going to go through life and you're going to have these horrible sets, and everything trickles down usually from the director, you know, where it's a hothead, or it's a complete, you know, egomaniac, or it's a this or it's a that. And you're going to learn what you don't want to be when you get to that place. And then you're going to have these incredible mentors or people you look up to and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly how I want to do it. Or just parts of it that you're like, you know, when I get there someday, you know, and you're gathering your toolbox of how you want it to be. And when that happened to me for the first time, after I was like 6 years in hardcore on these shows in LA, and I finally got to this place where, you know, I just got really lucky, because people have these groups and they're tight and they keep working with the same people over and over again. And it's, how do you break into these groups? You know, certain directors, certain producers, they just like to work with the people they like. And, you know, every once in a while there's an opening. And so I got really lucky on this one show where a mentor of mine, when I was first coming up, and I'd worked really hard for this guy, and he taught me so much. And of course, he took all the credit. I did all the work. I let it go. He was a really nice guy. You know, that's kind of how it goes. It's an Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker situation. You're constantly being mentored, and then you become the master eventually, and the tables turn. So your PA one day, like I've nurtured people over the last 20 years that are doing so incredibly well right now. I'd love to go work for them. They would even take me. I don't even know. But so you never know, you know, so that's why you always have to be kind to people. But so I got an opportunity where I had paid my dues, and you're always paying your dues. I'm paying my dues right now. And I had really worked hard for this man, and I didn't know if he would ever repay that. You know, I didn't know if he ever would. It didn't matter to me. You know what I mean? He was a good person, and he taught me a lot. And so one day I get a call, and I'm going to be interviewed by this incredible executive producer. His name's John Kroll, and he was working for New Line Cinema at the time. He was like a senior vice president. He was coming together, and they were just about to start the CW, you know, and all this programming and stuff. And so my former colleague, you know, he needed people, and he asked around his inner circle, and my former colleague said, oh, call Lisa Lucas. And so I was shocked, first of all, to get an interview with this man. And, you know, and I know there were a ton of people trying to break into their producers group. And so I had a great interview with him, and he's just like, and this is around 2004. And he said, do you have an agent? And I had an acting agent at the time. I didn't have a writer, producer agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no. And he goes, well, when you get on this show, if you do a really good job, you will. And I said, oh, okay. And I sort of put it in the back of my head, and lo and behold, they hired me. All these people had worked together before. I was sort of the odd man out, but it was just this beautiful experience. I mean, this guy was so high on life and what we were doing. He would skip down the hallways and just be like, yeah, we're going to have a great day. And it was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And he was like 55 at the time. And it was like a 5-year-old, but that like exuberance and enthusiasm and positivity. And I had never experienced that. And he just respected everybody and believed in you. And it was just like, wow. And there was a lot of trust, amazing group of people. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And so afterwards, the show ends. I worked my ass off, of course, on that. And I'm, like kind of just reeling after 6 months of working on this really hardcore thing. And I'm home one day, and it's like 2 days later after the wrap party, I get 3 phone calls. One was from ICM. One was from, I don't remember the other one, a big agency, and another one was from this little boutique agency, David Shapiro and Associates. And they all called me, and they're like, well, John Kroll recommended you. Can you please come in to see us for representation? Yes. I was like, oh my God. Like, again, someone who is, has integrity, who they say something, their word means something. And so I really carried that with me for the next 15 years of just like, okay, that's important. What you say. And if you say a statement like that, to somebody, you have to follow through, and these are people's lives, and also somebody who got off on people succeeding. It wasn't about them. You know what I mean? Like, he was about collaborating with amazing people, lifting people up, seeing them do their dream. And so I and a lot of others who have worked with him over the years, we took that on, and I'm just all about that. I get so much joy from having students or fellow colleagues or people that I work with, connecting them to the right people, or, helping further their project along, or getting them to meet investors, or whatever it takes to get somebody where they need to go, because this business is all about relationships, and that's what it's about. I mean, if you're just in it for yourself, okay, that just doesn't seem very fun to me. I mean, it's really, really wonderful to watch people thrive and do their dream and just totally go for it and get these amazing projects done and whatever. So I'm all about that. And, I love, probably the most is the collaborative effort of what we do.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share.